everybody. Welcome to another episode of That Podcast. I'm Pastor DJ Lura, and with me always is Dana Mashevsky. And we have some new guests here with us that we're excited to talk to. We have Gage Thalman and Katie Stensgaard. It's so
most
long.
on point you've ever been with that little thing.
I know, right? Because I have it in hand. I gave it to you, and it was better for like 5 minutes.
I was like, oh, that's really
downhill.
cool. That was a good intro.
You know what I should have done though is I should have started with that, and then
I was
after
gonna
saying
say,
your names,
I
it should have
watched
been
you pass the clapping, and I was like, "What are you doing?" The
like,
claps are the first button.
I saw you bring. I was like, what happens now?
Well, like Gage, you were playing with this beforehand. It's got a lot of fun little.
Yeah,
Right?
In person, it's really loud.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
This one's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
That
Do
puts
you
a
know,
smile on
is
my
it
face.
marked like what all the buttons?
Yeah.
I
are?
mean, there's like
Oh.
icons, but that doesn't mean
Oh, it's just
anything.
a-
Yeah, that one's just like a face. Yep.
I
Yep.
Yeah.
I have shown for years that the pictures mean nothing to me, and I often push the
like,
wrong
what?
thing.
Oh, yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, you got the drum roll.
Yeah.
That's the one you use, right?
Yeah.
There are two that make sense. All the other ones you're like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
If
right.
you were like,
There's a foghorn. Can you figure out which one is the foghorn?
No. Wait.
No.
Just kidding.
I
Yeah.
was like, if you were either one of my boys, those last two, like the farting and burping, it would just be like nonstop. I would be like fart, burp, fart, burp, fart.
Well, it put a smile on both my face and Gage's, so it's not.
It's like not an age.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
we
like
don't
a
grow out of it.
male.
the
No.
inner
Yeah.
8-year-old in me
Yes.
loves this thing
It's
very
like
much.
something about a fart will
Yeah.
always be
Always
funny.
be funny. It's
Yes.
Good humor.
This reminds me of iCarly, the TV show,
Yep.
Yeah.
Never
when
seen it.
Sam
Yep.
just walks around with her noise machine. I always just wanted
It's
to
a
hold it a
classic
little
show.
bit. Yeah.
So this one right here, I'm gonna give it back to you, but this one is the foghorn.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's just this little
the
side
little-
button.
I think that's the one button I didn't push when I was pushing all the
Wah,
buttons.
wah.
It sounds like a video game, kind of.
Yeah,
like
it
But no
does.
screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Uh-oh,
gotta
it's
run the
going to
board.
Dana.
You're good? All right.
All right, I
Well,
have
very
it
good.
again.
Well, thank you guys for coming and joining us. For those of you who are longtime listeners to that podcast but aren't able to be here on site with us, most likely you already know Katie. Katie's been on before, and Katie is our director of children's ministry. But maybe Gage is new to you. Gage Thalman just started with us. Are we still like
Over
30
a month.
days and over a month?
Over a month. We finally hit a month. Yeah, so
So, when you keep track of time, you have like, I've been here a day, I've been here a week,
Yep.
I've been here 2 weeks, I've been here a month. Is now the next milestone like a year, or?
I think I'm tenured. Honestly.
tenured.
Honestly, I
We're
think
just
it's
gonna jump right
holidays.
into
You have to
that.
do your first Christmas,
Yeah.
your first
Your
Easter,
first-
and then you're
It's like the
and then
church
it's
year.
over.
And
It
then
goes
you're
off
good.
of like events that you
And
put
then
on.
it's-
So it's like spooktacular, and then it'll
Baptism
be
by
things,
fire.
Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then you kind of do the weird springtime.
Yes.
That's like what
No, I
events,
feel like
you know, so-
Christmas is kind of like initiation.
Yeah.
No,
Then,
exactly.
then you're really.
Young and I
Yeah.
have talked about this, that like it is October to like April.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, if you survive that time, you're good.
Right.
There you go.
But then you
Yeah.
have this random like VBS in the middle. Like,
Yeah, the
oh,
huge
you
VBS,
were
spike.
resting,
VBS is the
but
little like
nope.
mini version of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that when the honeymoon is over and you stop being polite with everyone around you and they start seeing you
Yeah.
for who you really are?
Well, I'm curious if everyone's going to stop saying hi. You know,
No.
everyone
Oh.
No,
everyone now
no.
is like, hey, hi, hello,
No.
hi. And they stop at my office and I get to say hi to everyone. But I'm like,
No.
I wonder if,
That goes in
That
the other
stops.
direction.
Okay.
Even more people come
great,
and greet
Yeah.
great,
you.
good.
Well, engage you.
And then they'll start to actually know who you are. So then they like actually start having real conversations. And
Yes.
you're like, I was actually on my way to. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Gage, you grew up in Minnesota,
Yes, sir.
but you spent some time in California too.
I did.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like this in Minnesota, but in North Dakota, the entire state,
Yeah.
saying hi and hello to everybody is the normative
Yes.
pattern. I remember I moved here when I was 18, and I'd been living in Seattle for about 7 years. And I was shocked and dismayed because on I-5, on the interstate, you don't look at anyone, you don't talk to anyone, you just go straight ahead because, they'll shoot you. So,
You have to.
so you don't.
You'll get shot if you don't say hi now.
Now here, so I'm walking through the mall, and I'd been in Fargo for about 2 days, and I was looking for a job. right? You know, you're 18. Where do you go? The mall. At least you did back in the day. And I'm walking along, and complete strangers would walk by and go, "Hey, how's it going?" And at first, I thought people were mocking me. Like, what in the world is going on? But it dawned on me after a while, no, people were just genuinely just like, "Hey, what's up?" Like saying hello to a complete stranger, and it blew my mind.
Yeah, that's why you don't make eye contact.
Right? Or like when you
Goals.
drive by someone and everyone's like waving as you
Yeah, the
go
little
down,
2-finger
especially
steering wheel wave.
Yes.
You have to do it.
I don't know who I was talking to, but somebody was telling me that there's like a what's the word I'm looking for? Just like a
what's it? Describe it.
so like if you're on the road and you're behind the wheel,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
use
2 fingers.
a certain
Yes.
finger
Salute,
is like
kind
so
of.
one is like I don't know you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I'm saying hi.
hi. Yes.
Two is like you're the neighbor down there that I know of.
I know that
It's
I
like,
know
hello?
you, but I like.
And then there's like the 4 fingers and the whole hand
Yes.
goes up of like
See,
I
I
hope
see
that
you.
we chat later, you know? Like
I didn't even know it was that nuanced.
but
So just to give a little context, Gage was pantomiming, driving with his hand on a steering wheel and lifting up the palm of his hand.
yeah.
When I used to drive on I-5, sometimes people would say to you, "You're number one,"
Yeah.
but it was a completely different finger.
Well,
Are you,
that's still
are
a
you
thing,
sure that's
too.
what they were saying, DJ?
Sometimes
You're number one.
Sometimes reality is what we make of it rather than
That's
what
good.
it actually
you have
is.
very
So-
healthy perspective.
So no, I remember driving to Cooperstown where I grew up with one of my childhood friends for the first time after living away, and we're driving along, and a car passes there's a tractor that went by, and just like a pickup truck, like on a farm, and I watched my buddy who's driving do this, lifted up just the index finger,
Yeah.
just-
Mhm.
and I'm like, "What was that?" I go, "Do you know who that was?" He goes, "No."
No.
I'm like, "Well, what were you doing?" He goes, "We're just saying hi." Like, with one finger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah." And the guy did it back, too.
Yeah.
The other guy was just
Yep.
one
I feel
finger.
like this other guy knows about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
my favorite thing is growing up in Minnesota, and my grandparents lived up north. So the whole saying in Minnesota is you go up north for the weekend because that's where I was assuming like all the grandparents lived up north.
Yes, up north.
Yep.
That's where
And
we
everybody
put
goes
the
to the
We keep
lake.
the grandparents.
Once you hit a certain age, you have to leave the city.
Yes.
You have to
You
go north.
live out of town now.
Yes.
But the common thing that I grew accustomed to was like, oh, we got to run into town.
Mhm.
And then when I moved to California, this is like a foreign concept to them. You
Yeah.
know, you try to explain this of like town was 20 minutes away.
Right.
There's nothing between you and town.
Town.
Right.
We have to go to town to do everything.
Yeah.
Whereas like
They're like always.
there
in
is
town.
no
Yeah.
separation between one city to another city
Exactly.
in LA. It's just like
Exactly.
one big thing. And you keep driving, you're like, we've been through 3 towns.
Yeah.
It's like, where am I?
Yeah.
But
Unless you've actually lived here or experienced it, and people who just kind of like drive through don't understand the brilliance and the intricacy of living in the Midwest
Yeah.
with wide open spaces.
Mhm.
Also, the definition of town
Yes.
when you live here is very different.
yep.
Yes.
There's like Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart is very key to town.
Yeah.
And then like a gas station, obviously.
At least one.
Yep.
Sometimes it's like a gas station.
If you get the
slash
grocery
hardware
store-
Yeah.
slash yeah.
Yeah.
Then you
And
were a
it's-
town.
Yeah,
Yes.
and where my grandparents lived, my grandma Sandy lived in Perm, Minnesota.
Okay.
And they lived about 10 minutes out of town. And there was the Barrel of Fun factory.
Yeah.
And there was no Walmart at the time.
It was
So
a
we
ba-
would go
I'm sorry you said that wrong. It's Barrel O Fun.
Barrel of Fun. Yeah.
O Fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Important distinction.
Yes.
Yes.
There's
Oh.
There's no of
Barrel of Fun.
Barrel O Fun.
It's just, if you say fast enough, it just
it just comes
becomes
together. Yeah.
but it wasn't a Walmart. It was just this small store.
Mhm.
And
Coast to coast.
I wish I
Shop
should go back
Brooklyn.
there. I really should go back there
Yeah.
and just walk through it and be
It's
like,
going
I
to be
remember
completely different than you remember. You're
I-
like, child me remembers this completely different.
Yes.
this. Yeah, it's like this is way smaller than
Yeah,
I
right,
remember
right.
it to be.
Yep.
It's going to be way less
You're like,
magical.
wait a minute.
Also,
This was only 5 blocks long. Are you
Yeah.
sure?
That's
Yeah.
right. Last time you were here, you were 3 feet tall.
I remember this so differently.
Gosh, so good.
Right on. So I let's see if I caught it correctly. So Perham is where you're from, or where?
No, so my mom's mom lived in Perm, Minnesota.
Okay.
And then my dad's parents lived in Ottertail, which is the town south of Perm.
Sure.
So it was funny because that was in the summer. My grandparents on my mom's side had a camper in close to Perm area, but like you could get to my grandparents' house on my dad's side in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
So it was
Okay.
really weird because I mean my parents grew up in the same area, and then vice versa. Your grandparents also are from the same area, so
Mhm.
I knew one space of up north
Sure.
very well.
Yes.
That was my spot.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm not from there. I'm from the Twin Cities, so we
Okay.
would do the 3-hour trip up on the weekends
Gotcha.
to see the grandparents.
It's
so.
funny
Mhm.
because my perspective is reversed. Like I lived in the cities, but all my family lived here. So it was constantly traveling. Well, it wasn't, I mean, if you're traveling to Ottertail, but it's traveling here, which is north. I
It's-
never really thought of it as northwest.
we go up north, but it's like anywhere
Mhm.
outside north of the line that you make.
Yeah.
So you draw a line west to east. Anything north of that is up north.
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
to
for
me.
sure.
Right.
Some
For
peop-
sure.
There was like a big story on the Star Tribune, which is the big Minnesota like newspaper.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What is up north?"
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
they did this like whole. They interviewed a bunch of people. They took
Like,
surveys.
where's your
It's like,
line?
I don't think it's
Yeah.
that important, but some
But-
people felt strongly.
Did you know
But
there's
bet.
mountains in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Officially, like technically they're mountains.
up
But
north?
aren't they just
Yeah,
like
Up north.
exactly, like-
large mounds?
Mhm.
So you who have a background in snowboarding in the
Yes.
Rockies,
And
yes,
li-
to
yeah.
you they are. That's a cute hill.
Because I tried to I even looked at pictures and I was like, "Where's the mountains?"
Yes.
They're
Yes.
like big mounds. Oh,
Yes.
that's what they're calling the mountain.
Which when I was little
Yeah.
was like straight up those were mountains, and then we moved to Colorado, and I was like,
Oh.
Those
"Hey mom,
are
I have a
mountains.
fear of heights, by the way. Like, what
Well,
are
and you
these
drive
things?"
a
and then you're
mountain
driving,
road.
and you're
Yeah.
like, "No, this is how I die."
Yeah, and a lot of them don't even have side rails, and they're just
no.
like winding around because you have to wind around
Yes,
the mountain.
and then the runaway like truck things that was terrifying.
You're like,
for
why
me.
are those there?
What are these ramp things? What do you mean runaway truck?
I don't want to say something too dark, but I always have wanted to see a truck use them.
You
and
don't.
no one would get
You
hurt,
don't.
obviously.
I was like, what comes next after? I don't want to say something too.
Nobody would get hurt. Like
Silence and
if I could
anticipation.
create like the most perfect situation, truck brake failure. Obviously, that's how it works. That's what they
Yeah.
need them
That's
for.
what they're
Yep.
there for,
Nobody
yes.
would be in the way. Be like, oh, there's a ramp. I will use that, and I would just be there to see.
Yeah.
To see
Happen.
it.
That's all I want.
That's all I want.
That's just
It's
such a
no.
small ask.
Why
I
don't-
think.
why don't you come down to a happy ending? I just want to see it actually work.
The
as it's
thing it
designed.
was designed for.
I've
like,
seen it
does
on
what
social
is
media, but it's
designed
just
for.
like not the same.
As being there in person, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Few things are.
When I was 10, my family moved from here to Washington State. And I remember driving through the Rockies, and you would look up, and on the side, to your left, like if you're driving along, to your left is this gigantic cliff face of like 1,000 feet into nothingness. And on the right, there's a cliff edge that has a big net over it.
Or the falling rock
For like
signs.
the rock
Mhm.
ball.
And I never saw any falling rocks, but I was always like,
Yeah.
where's the big boulder?
Yeah.
Like when does this happen? Did you ever?
I didn't ever see any. I like saw some after the fact where you could tell that some
Yeah.
had
Yep.
slid in and was kind of like piled
Mhm.
on the side of the road or sometimes kind of on
Mhm.
the road. But yeah, I took my kids there. Actually, I lived in Crested Butte. I took them back to Crested Butte and we did like a lot of we drive through the mountain passes because we went to Utah from there. But
Yeah.
they were so scared of the roads. They're like, do we have to? I was like, it's the only way to like the next place. Like we have to go. And they like, it was beautiful. But even like I went super slow, but you know, like the drop offs terrified
Yep.
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just take
my
a nap.
first.
Yeah.
Take a nap.
Don't look.
I took a nap. Like our drive through, my mom was like, "Okay, maybe I was sleeping." My mom's like, "Maybe she will sleep through all of this. That'll be great." But my ears popped, so that's why I woke up. But like I woke up to the falling rock sign, which my mom had passed so many, but like she was like, "Okay, if I can just get her through this pass without seeing the falling rock signs, we'd be fine." I broke down in tears.
Oh,
I was
sure.
like, "We're gonna die." We're like in a U-Haul,
Yep.
towing the car.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. And then you're just like looking. I was like, okay, like, can you like drive slower? Because if you just like, we go off the cliff edge and then we die, and I don't want to die this way.
Actually, I have a friend. So my friend that I've known for like 20 years, she just visited me. She lives in Washington. And so they drive like mountain roads all the time. And she was telling me she was in a car accident, it was like a year ago with her kids. And they went off the edge of the road, and she kind of has this like big Jeep thing. It rolled and landed on the next level down, but like perfectly on all tires.
Oh, wow.
And they kind of like landed on this like rock or this rut, so they were stuck there, but it also like saved them so they didn't keep tumbling.
Wow. Yeah.
So she's like, we couldn't drive away, but it's only because like the tire was lodged on this big like rock or rut or whatever, and like damage wise, like
The car
they
wasn't
were
gonna-
fine. Yeah. But she's like, it was like the scariest thing because they basically, the car did a somersault
Yep.
and landed on its wheels.
No, see, that's my
crazy.
worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I was
intense.
like, that's insane.
It's not so bad.
It's not so bad.
We
She
once
tells it
got-
differently.
Yeah. We once got snowed in to like town because there was basically the one way out, but there was like
Yes.
an avalanche thing, and they're like, so like you can't leave. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
What do you mean we can't leave?
You can only come in. You can never.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You
Isn't
can
there
check in, you can't leave.
Yeah,
Isn't there
like-
like an Eagles song?
yeah, Hotel California.
Yes. Yes.
You can check out, but you can never leave.
Yep.
There. Is that what California's like? Tell us.
Yep. Well,
According
some
to the
people-
Eagles, yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what
But
it's
here
like.
Gage is. He left.
I left. Well,
Who'd you have to pay?
He checked out.
He did.
it's
He left.
we like to say it's not conducive to young people staying there financially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
Like
that.
unless you, I don't
Unless
know these
unless
people.
you're doing pretty well right from day
Exactly. Like you
Mhm.
gotta go to school and have like a pretty good agenda of making a lot of money. Like that's your agenda. And the reason why I went to California was to take an internship at a church.
one.
And I don't know if you know things about money. That is
I
not
need
where
to
you
know
make
more.
money.
I was like, that was a bold choice.
So-
Just
It was just like, and it was beautiful because
What a great way to put that. I don't know if you know things about money.
I don't.
But
yeah, so the church, basically they had an internship program and they had 2 apartments that interns could live in. So
Oh.
we didn't have to pay rent.
yeah, they
Oh,
had
yeah.
to plan that. They like, if we want anybody younger than like 30,
Yes.
we have to provide housing.
And that's the way they do it, you know. And they have the church is Trinity Lutheran. It's in San Pedro, California, and they don't own the whole block, but it's like we
Almost.
refer to it as the block. So
Sure.
there's the parsonage, the church itself, and then they own like a really don't think like an actual apartment building, just like a house that is split into 3 apartments, basically.
gotcha.
And then they have the church parking lot and a pool, and then they call it the Alpha House, which was the old parsonage, and now it's turning into the youth room. But
Okay.
so there's like housing options, and that's where they would put the interns. And it was beautiful because I didn't have to pay to live there, and you were right on the block, so you didn't have to drive anywhere. If you really, I like love driving, so I drove all of the time, which is not smart
Right.
because you have to pay for gas.
Gas
Yeah,
prices.
that's-
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just such a great space to
So-
be a young adult. And
So did you
living-
go there right out of high school?
No, I went after college.
Okay.
So I took a gap year after high school, and I lived at home and paid rent, which is not.
Yeah.
It was like $200.
Nice.
But anyway, and then I
Minnesota, good
Yep.
place to
Yep.
be.
the best kind of rent.
yes, and then I went to college at Concordia University in St. Paul. Go Bears!
Ooh.
Go Bears!
Missouri Synod.
Yep. And then when I graduated from Concordia, I moved out to California that following fall.
Okay.
And then I stayed there for 2 years and left 2 falls later and moved back to Minnesota, stayed there for a year, and now I'm in Fargo.
Okay, so that's cool. So what I want to know, being that if you went to a Missouri Synod college, because there's one non-Missouri Synod college called Concordia, which happens to be right here. All
Yes.
the rest of them, there's one
Which
in
is very
California.
confusing. Who planned that?
The Missouri Synod. They're all named
No,
Concordia.
who named our Concordia?
Someone not in the
Probably
Missouri Synod?
probably our Scandinavian ancestors.
Okay.
That
It
came
just
here and
makes
they're
it
like,
confusing
"Ooh."
that they're not related.
Most likely it was
You gonna
someone.
Google it?
It was a
Well, I could-
Lutheran pastor who was from like either Missouri or from the Twin Cities who was like, Concordia's a really nice school. We should
Okay,
start our own.
but then
right
let's
here.
also talk about. They named that Concordia, right? Did they also pick their mascot?
A cobber.
Cobbers. The cobbers.
Sometimes
Because
you're
let's
like,
talk about how
what?
Moorhead is literally just food.
Well, see, here's the thing. What does a dragon hate more than anything?
Corn.
Popcorn. Apparently,
Again, I will bring it up every time we talk about it.
I feel like you just made that up.
My favorite social media post I've ever seen in my life is MSUM's Thanksgiving post
if
a
y'all
couple
didn't
years
know,
ago.
Dana is an MSUM Dragon
Yes,
alum.
I am.
Okay.
Go Dragons. But it was my favorite because it is just Scorch with Spuddy. Who named him Spuddy?
Right?
And then what's the cobber's name?
Cobber? I don't know.
Can't remember.
I don't
but
know.
it's basically the three of them, and it just says Scorch and his favorite side dishes. Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oh, that does actually make sense.
And,
It is
and
my
it's,
favorite.
And it's a potato and a
And a
bowl of
corn cob.
popcorn. Oh, a corn cob.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to have a graphic of Scorch just like watching TV with a big bag of popcorn
Like a thing of tater tots.
and tater tots. Be like
Ooh, those are, now I'm hungry.
Sunday with Scorch, or Saturday with
should.
Scorch, whatever it is.
Anybody work at MSUM? Take that. Use that. It'll be
Oh,
great.
We might know some people. Yeah.
I'm sure we
Maybe
do.
they'll
We do.
hear it
but-
here and they're like, that's a great idea. Why didn't we
It's
think of
it's
this
football
before?
season.
Yes.
Where I grew up, it was the PLU Lutes because
All these like
Who's naming these?
Scandinavian.
ELCA affiliated liberal Lutheran colleges have no real imagination with their mascots. So you had the Concordia Cobbers, you had the Augustana Aggies, you had the
What's an
Olaf,
Augie?
the
Let's
Saint
talk about that
Olaf
too.
Olies, you had
What's in, yeah, I don't.
you had the PLU Lutes.
I think I at
feel
least
like
know what
it's
that is.
Lutz.
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 The Lutz. And my brother played football for Central Washington University, which at the time was a big rival of PLU. And that game was known as the Christians versus the convicts.
I like that.
Yeah, that was
That's
pretty
fun.
fun.
Good.
That was fun. So how did we get down this rabbit hole?
Where I went to school
yes,
versus
okay, so-
Concordia College.
So how did you...
And then my spiral if I hate those things.
So how did
Now
you
I'm
go
hungry.
from a Missouri Synod school? Because I'm guessing you most likely did you grow up Lutheran? Like, did you grow up
Yeah,
in a Lutheran church?
I grew up going to a church an LCMS church for
Okay.
my childhood, and
Yep.
that's where I was confirmed and baptized and did high school youth group. And then we left that church because it was really far away from our home.
Mhm.
And then basically I picked Concordia. I applied to one school, and it
Mhm.
was Concordia St. Paul because I had family that went there.
Yeah.
And
It's in a great location, and
Yeah.
it's a nice school.
I went to the youth gathering, the LCMS youth gathering, right after I graduated high school, and they had a lot of promotional stuff for their schools, and it was in the state that I lived in, and it had like a youth ministry kind of
Was
Major.
Route?
was
Major.
Reverend Jonathan Fisk there, the
that
time?
name sounds familiar, but I don't personally know that person.
or Lutheran Satire Reverend?
That exists.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've shown
Definitely.
you guys the videos of Lutheran Satire, like
You have?
Gonal and Donald argue against St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gonal and Connell.
I don't. Did
Y-
you show me?
yeah.
Was I there?
That's Parthian. Or that's
That was like a
maybe I
staff
just-
meeting.
blocked
That's
it out.
modalism, Patrick.
that's modalism, Patrick.
It's like it's hand drawn, like animated. They're little
Oh.
stick figures.
It's still
Well,
not ringing a bell.
The
Okay.
pastor, or I'll do a video of like I've actually shown this in church of our idea of seeing an angel. What it would actually be like to see
I
an
remember
angel, and you see someone just screaming. That's from a Missouri Synod pastor who started Lutheran Satire. It's a bunch of
Okay.
YouTube videos. They're actually very funny. And his name is
Well,
Hans. I'm blanking on his last name.
I know
but-
what I'm doing this afternoon.
Okay.
Taking a deep dive. Yeah.
I was when he was up and running. Pastor Jonathan Fisk was a pastor in Philadelphia around the same time that I was, and he had this YouTube channel called Worldview Everlasting, and it was great. It's just it was great stuff, and I liked him a lot. I actually used his videos and the Lutheran Satire videos with the youth group that I worked with in Philadelphia. Anyway, back to your story a little bit, Gage. So you were at, are you looking it up right now?
I'm trying to figure out these dates for everything. So Concordia College. See, as soon as I click on this Google link, it goes to not the words I found on the short description of what it says. But Concordia College, founded in 1891. And then Concordia University's the first of the LCMS school group.
Yep.
It's 1847.
Yep.
You know what blows my mind? This is my weird thought.
Okay.
Things started, everything starts.
Yeah.
These schools are like 150 years old.
Yep.
But like right now, you never hear about schools that are 3 years old because they're so small.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? I think about that all the time of like everything has, it's like our 75th anniversary and you only see those dates because it's been that long.
Yeah.
But that's business that's 3 years old and you're like, do you have any history here? Like, what are you doing? You
Actually,
I don't know.
we don't.
We
We're
are
That's just
working
like
on
weird
that.
to me.
We are
Anyway.
so obsessed with the present that we make big deals out of things that are present now. But I just want to put something in perspective. Like, okay, there is, for example, church ministry. The new big popular church in your town, whatever it may be, could be the Church of the Holy Comforter. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But let's say that they're bursting at the seams. They have thousands of people coming every week. And then you have another church that's been in the same town or city for 100 years. And they have not a lot, but about 100 people that come every week. We uplift and celebrate, oh, look what's happening at that one church event that's just exploding at the seams, but discount the church that's actually running the marathon rather than the sprint and has had a faithful congregation that has been doing ministry, whatever their ministry may be. It may not be big and glamorous and flashy, but it's been there for a century,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think it's
I've just started to get to the point of being like, there's something valuable in that. In like, for example, Atonement was founded in 1970 something and change, right?
Yeah.
It's 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You should know this.
I do know this, but I was,
Just had our
isn't it
Year.
70? It's 1970, right?
if you know when Atonement was started, I encourage you to.
It was, we had our 50 year like
email us.
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 1970. So 1970, 2020 was the 50th anniversary. And it was right in the midst of COVID. So
I was
we
gonna say I
we
was
missed
not
out.
here for the 50th.
We
We missed
went.
out.
We went to the big center. We rented it out. Avalon.
Avalon.
Yeah, that's what we did, and we had brunch.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
I remember that because I like brunch.
Celebrated the 50th anniversary with brunch.
Obviously.
Yeah. And a special
There's no other
speaker
way.
and a lot of other things too. But the brunch was very
No, there was
memorable.
brunch.
Yeah.
We ate and then we left.
Let's be honest, Katie. We only care about the food.
Not only, but it is the most memorable. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and I guess my point with this is that while being focused on the present, because we're called to share the gospel now in this place at this time, and of course you want the gospel to go as far as it possibly can, there's something comforting about knowing, well, this place has soldiered on in the midst of good times and bad times for 50 years. I served a church that was called Centennial Church because it was founded on the American Centennial in Philadelphia in 1876.
Wow.
Wow.
So it had been there for 100 and something
Long
years.
time.
It gave me comfort because I'm like, I could screw this up so bad,
But it's
And
not
there's-
going
but
anywhere.
it ain't going nowhere. There's roots that are deeper than me,
Yeah.
right? There's something
Yeah.
beautiful about that, I think.
I agree.
So
Well, when I was out in California, I had the opportunity to be there when they celebrated their centennial.
mhm.
So the pastor that's still there is Nathan Hoff, and he did so much research about the pastors that had served at Trinity before himself. And he came up with, basically this statement of like, no matter who's running this church, like it's God's church.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
God's
God
really
is going to
running
do
it.
what he
Yeah.
wants to do here. And
Yeah.
like, I'm just thankful that I get to be a part of the story of this church. And
Yeah.
I think that's just such a beautiful way to like remind ourselves of like, I will serve this place for as long as God needs me here.
Right.
And
And it's not mine. And
Yeah,
so there's a
exactly.
freedom in not being like, it stands or falls on on my
and it just like
brilliance or-
lifts so much like weight off of your shoulders of like, oh, there's so much pressure here. It's like,
Right.
no, it's you are placing that pressure on yourself, or the
Right.
world is placing that pressure on you,
Right.
because it's just like pastors are at fault for this. And it's like, no, you're not. Like,
Right.
don't listen to those voices.
Don't
So,
listen to those voices.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what your internship was like at that church.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do? And
Yeah.
then go from there.
We take a minute, and I'm gonna cut this episode.
You want to cut this episode right now?
No, well, you can keep going. We're gonna talk about his internship in the next episode.
Oh, okay. So do
Yeah.
I need to do a close?
I'll cut it from the other
We'll
one.
cut it from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
All
I'm just letting everybody know
All right.
that it happens.
So let's pause this. And I'm actually going to try a close because I blew it last time.
Do you need the sound machine?
I don't need this. That works. Yes. After I do it, do that.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what the word was that I used before.
Splendiferous.
Splendiferous. Yeah, I don't like that word anymore. All right, let me
How
try.
about I just press buttons?
Let me try doing a close real quick. Okay, ready? Well, hey, thank you for joining us for another episode of That Podcast. On behalf of Dana Mashevsky, I am Pastor DJ Lura, and thank you to our guests, Katie Stensgaard and Gage Thalman. And I hope you can join us next time for another fantastic episode of That Podcast. No, I think I blew it again.
Too late.